Let's just chat, sis. Grab your tea. I'm glad you want it for me, but trust and believe you don't want it for me more than I want it for me. Because if you do, you get in my DM so you can write me a check for it, because I'm the one paying for it. So if you want it more than I do, you go ahead and send me a check and fund this journey. And then, you know, put your money where your mouth is, as they say. Put your money where your mouth is. What's up, Fertility Band? Let's get these babies, ladies. Thank you for clicking on Simply Tanika. I am Tanika. If you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. I decided to do a sit down, get ready with me, because I needed to do another video for my other channel, Becoming Tanika. If you haven't subscribed, please hop over there and subscribe. It's a good time. Yeah, so I wanted to answer some of your questions. It's like a Q&A on my biopsy results and my next steps and just about how we're vibing as a community. It's like, let's just chat, sis. Grab your tea. I had mine while I was filming. Grab your tea, hang with me. Don't forget to hit the like button. It helps me out, costs you nothing. All right, let's hop into the video. Let's talk about some of y'all's questions and comments. This might be where some of us part ways. I'm gonna go into my face because I need to think about my eyes a little bit more. So the one question I already answered. The other one, what was the question? Oh, I know. I said I was gonna take probiotics, prebiotics, and postbiotics, and some of them vaginally. And one of the questions was, did I talk to my doctor about it? And I posted in the answer, or in my response comment, I posted the link to where I discussed that in another video so that you could get the answer that you needed. But then I was like, why are you asking that? Like, I just want to be very clear. I'm not a medical professional, and anything that I discuss with my doctor is about my treatment. And I'm fine to share that in case you want to talk to your doctor about it. But please don't run and do it if that's why you're asking. And then if you're asking because you think I'm doing something I'm not supposed to do, like, I'm a whole ass grown woman. So I just find the question a little weird. You know what I mean? Like, what difference does it make to you if I ask my doctor? If I discussed it with my doctor, I will say, not ask, because I'm, again, a grown-ass woman. Yeah. The other thing somebody said was maybe not take baths. So if there was anything that I said that led anybody to believe that one could get inflammation of their endometrium lining purely solely from taking baths, I would like to take that back, because that is not at all, I'm looking for a brush that I don't think I have, that is not at all what I meant by that. And I think, let me just walk it back, I think when I was talking about the very first video when I found out that I had the endometritis, I was saying it could have happened from when I had my first biopsy for my ERA and I took a bath afterwards. That was a ponderance. That was not a statement. That was a ponderance. I think it could have happened then, is what I said, because after I had the second biopsy, which was also a part of the hysteroscopy, I was told not to have anything inserted vaginally for 7 days. I was not told that after the biopsy, and that's what I was questioning, like, why didn't they tell me that? I wonder if that's where I got it. And then in another video, and so maybe that's why it gets confusing, I talked about where I had talked to Nurse Katrina with this same ponderance. And she clarified, no, it's after the hysteroscopy or like a transfer that you shouldn't have a bath or anything inserted vaginally. So anything inserted vaginally, no penises, I don't know, yoni beads or whatever those things are called, nothing. after you have it, and you're subject to have like light bleeding afterwards. So they also said no tampons, right, or menstrual cups. I don't wear tampons, but nothing inserted vaginally because the cervix has been open for a prolonged period of time. So I think it was either 15 to 17 minutes for my hysteroscopy that my cervix had been open, and that's not the case in the biopsy. It maybe was like 5 minutes in the biopsy. I don't even know. I don't think it's that long. I feel like it can't be that long when you do a transfer, but it might be because, you know, he's in there doing stuff first. Because let me think. When they do the transfer, they're opening their cervix. They place the straw in there first, and it might be like 7-8 minutes. It's definitely longer than the biopsy. I'll say that much. It's definitely longer than the biopsy. Just the biopsy, not the biopsy and the hysteroscopy. I want to keep clarifying that because I think I confused people last time. Just the biopsy. So it's open longer. So there is no reason to recommend not taking a bath to reduce endometritis, right? So when you say, why don't you stop taking baths? Like that's not going to improve it. There's nothing that's connected to that that's going to, like, my cervix is closed. Bath water is not like running up and through my hoo-ha. So I just want to clarify that. So I don't want anybody thinking that you can't take a bath because it's going to hurt your lining. Now, obviously, after a transfer, they tell you not to take a bath. Like, they'll tell you when this is applicable to you. But again, that is why referring to your own doctor for these things is good. And that is also why remembering that you're not my doctor is also good. So I'm going to follow my doctor's instructions, dear friend on the internet. And that's what it's going to be. I'm going to follow my doctor's instructions. So, and I hope that, honestly, I know I'm being silly, like tongue-in-cheek, because I do want to walk some people back, because I feel like you're close to the line. I'm not going to say you crossed the line, but you're close. So I just think it's important to, you know, consult with your own doctor no matter what's going on, and let me consult with my doctor. I 100% trust my doctor, so that brings me into the next thing, because people were asking, like, why don't you switch doctors? Why don't you? I don't want to switch doctors. That's why I'm not switching doctors. And I would think that would be obvious, but I mean, that's it. I want to have autonomy and agency over my own choices, and I don't want to switch doctors. I love Dr. McConnell. I left and came back. And people are like, well, it must not be great because you left. The only reason I left is because I was like so hell-bent on using my own eggs, and Cher had a better, I don't want to say score, but a track record with women of advanced maternal age using their own eggs, right? Columbia did not have, I think, they had one when I first enrolled, and then, you know, the stats come out annually. And then when I was looking again, during the year that I was there, they had none. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's like they have to keep records, and there's a reporting agency. I always say I think it's ASMR, right? Or is that the thing where you whisper? I'll put it down here, whatever it is. I always get it mixed up. So they report, all of the fertility clinics report their stats of like how many successful live births they have. And so for Columbia, they did not have any for women, AMA, advanced maternal age, with their own eggs. And so because I was hell-bent on using my own eggs, that's the only reason why I left, because of the stats. Now that I'm doing donor eggs, there is no, like, I have no issue with it. So I scurried right on back to Columbia for that reason. Oh my God. And I'm happy there. So I don't want to go somewhere else. I don't want to go out of the country. I don't want to go to CNY. I don't want to go anywhere else but right where I am, because that's what makes sense for me in my life. And I know it gets confusing because, you know, y'all kind of know me, at least like 12 minutes at a time. I can't say I know all of you. Some of you guys I do know because we talk on Instagram or on text message or in Gmail. So I kind of have a good sense of you guys, and I'm not talking to none of y'all. But yeah, I'm again a whole grown woman, and I don't want to go out of the country. I don't want to go to CNY. It just is not, it's nothing in it. The one doctor, and I know some people are there at CNY, and again, hopefully this, you know, we can speak our differences and still be friends. Like, the doctors there just don't appeal to me. They're a little too rough and ready for me. Oh shoot, I did this again. I didn't want to use this. I used this in my other video. Let's try that again. I just don't want to do it. So, I mean, it's my money, my time, my body. So I just feel like there shouldn't need to be any more comments about that, right? I don't want to go there. So I'm not. I would say I might entertain it had I not got the second opinion, but I want, again, Columbia is a university. It's a top-rated fertility center. I went to another doctor at a top-rated fertility center, UC San Francisco, UCSF, and the second opinion doctor didn't vary too greatly from what Columbia was doing. She's the one who recommended if there's another failure, hysteroscopy, but Dr. McConnell had already said that. So they were in sync with my treatment as far as like thawing and freezing the egg, or thawing, testing, and refreezing the eggs. They were also in sync. Like, and I had asked Dr. McConnell, like, should we do it in parallel? She was like, no, she was like, it's unlikely that 4 of them, something was wrong with 4 of them. So let's not entertain that right now. It's unlikely that that's what's going on. So let's see what's going on with your body right now. Let's check that out. And then we'll make moves from there. And sure enough, you know, and I think before, and I'm not going to blame like Columbia or anybody else. I know all of the other clinics that I went to were saying you need to go to donor eggs, right? Even though Share had a good rate with own eggs of events, that was still a recommendation of like, you need to consider that because that might be, your eggs might be the issue, right? And Dr. O, when I was at Share, was trying to convince me, oh, you definitely need to have this embryo tested and blah, blah, blah. And my egg didn't make it to embryo, or not my embryo did not make it to blastocyst. So he was like, oh, it's got to be the egg. We have to, you know, we're going to do it again and you're going to have to test. But I cycled like 3 more times and I didn't get an egg. So at that point, I was like, now I'm just throwing good money after bad, right? It's some cost. I do want a baby. Like, let me take a break. And then everything happened with my mom and I went away. So I think, you know, as part of this process, we all have to come to our own conclusions in our own time. And it's easy for someone to say, oh, you should do this, you should do that from the outside looking in. Or people are trying to rush me like, oh, I want you to hurry up and be pregnant. Not more than I do. You don't want it any more than I do, but I am trying to stay calm. And I think like you guys have seen my energy shift over these last couple months. I'm irritating Justice. Do I have too much bass in my voice, Justice? You okay? You okay, Justice? What's going on? Huh? Anyway. Yeah, my energy has shifted. I'm like a lot calmer. I feel a lot calmer. So for you guys to want to kick my anxiety up, I don't know why, honestly. I don't think it's helpful. I'm glad you want it for me, but trust and believe you don't want it for me more than I want it for me. Because if you do, you get in my DM so you can write me a check for it, because I'm the one paying for it. So if you want it more than I do, you go ahead and send me a check and fund this journey. And then, you know, put your money where your mouth is, as they say. Put your money where your mouth is. Otherwise, you know, you are, and I'm grateful for it. I don't mean this with any disrespect. You're a spectator. I'm here, like it's a video diary. I'm sharing my journey as it unfolds. And so to rush it or to jump in and sort of, you know, a day late and a dollar short, as we would say back home. And I say that because there was there was a girl who jumped in the comments. She was selling something. She was like, have you been properly diagnosed? Or are they telling you you just have unexplained infertility or something? And then she said, you should check out my, I don't even remember what it was, like my tea, my whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, well, yeah, I'm 50, so that's what it is. Oh, because she was like, you probably don't even need donor egg. I mean, not to say that I haven't had that thought myself, but like she's not a subscriber or a regular follower. She jumped in, whatever the title was about the struggle or another failed FET, and she just jumped in the comments and was like, you need to try blah, 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 blah. And I was like, really? Do I? I'm going to go in. I didn't bring my other pen in here and I don't want to get up, but I do want my eyebrows to be a little fuller than this. So I'm going to go back in and work on those right quick. I think part of it too is when you jump in, sometimes you interrupt a person's grieving. You know what I mean? In the same way that if someone dies and someone dies and the relative is grieving or the loved one is grieving, and someone jumps in and says everything happens for a reason, like that doesn't make sense to the person. Or they just say, like, they're just saying shit to be saying it. It's not helpful. Do you know what I mean? So, and I mean this with the most respect, it's not helpful for you guys, for anybody, to keep trying to redirect me to something else. I'm kind of on this course. When I'm ready to switch, I'll get on the camera and be like, guys, I've tried everything that I know how to try. I'm all out of ideas. Please tell me what I should do next. Right? That's a different thing than me sharing my journey and basically people coming in and saying, well, why don't you do this? Or you should do this, or you should do whatever. Or assuming that I'm doing one thing, because one of you guys commented like, you shouldn't be worried about the time and you might need to be on Lupron. And I'm not saying I don't need to be on Lupron, but the only reason I was worried about the time is because time equals money, right? But I never said, irrespective of everything else, the time is the only thing that matters. I was saying it was, my goal was to do it this year because of the financial liability. I'm fine to do it next year. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm like a goal-oriented person, right? So what is the target that I'm marching toward? Where is my focus? And that was my focus. I was like, well, I will, oh, those are super dark. Oh my God. We'll see. Oh, I guess that's okay by the time I get my hair down. So, and I don't know that I will have to go on Lupron. I'm not opposed to it. If the doctor is like, this is what you need to do to get the baby, I'm gonna do it. But I don't think we're there yet. And if you've been here for a while, you know she was discouraging me from Lupron before, because like that's why she was like, oh, when I did the Receptiva DX, she was like, if it comes back, you're gonna, and I was like, well, let's cross that bridge when we get there, right? Like, it's better to have the information and know what moves to make, or know what the options are and then make a decision, versus not knowing and shooting in the dark. So if I have to have Lupron, I have to have Lupron. I mean, I hear it's brutal. It's going to put me into menopause. But I mean, people go into menopause every day, right? Like, how brutal could that be? I mean, but listen, I don't mean to underestimate it, because when I tell you, and I have to finish because I delayed taking this medication so I could film this video, because it makes me sick. It makes me so sick. It makes me nauseous. It tastes disgusting. It makes my mouth like, it coats my tongue. It makes my mouth feel very bitter, like the taste of my mouth, and not bitter like lemons. It's bitter like rotten milk and charcoal. Like, it is disgusting. So it's hard to have an appetite with it, which is kind of, you know, hard. It's like it's making it difficult to eat. I got on the scale today and I was like 156, which I'm happy to be 156, but not from starvation. So I've been boning up on protein. I haven't even necessarily been focused on keto, but I've been making sure I've been getting a lot of protein so that my muscles don't atrophy, because you know, when you don't get enough protein, your body starts breaking down your own protein, and I don't want to be skinny fat again. So yeah. Anyway, long story long, I'm okay if I have to do Lupron. If that is the last step in it, I'll document it all. Mainly I documented stuff. One, like I said, for my personal, this is bronzer. I haven't said anything I'm doing, but you know, for my own kind of, it's like a video diary. The other is, in case anybody is going through what I'm going through, then they don't feel alone, or they can ask me like, how did that feel, or whatever else. You know what I mean? Like, specific things as it relates to their own journey. But I think, yeah, I don't know. The internet is interesting, because there was this thing we had going on Twitter where somebody was like basically telling me to adopt, and a bunch of people jumped in and told her that it was rude, and she was like, well, she's the one who put her story out on the internet, and she was like, yeah, to share, but not for your, like, to redirect her, right? Because I don't want to adopt. And I feel like, don't hijack my story to get your message out. Like, if you're an advocate for adoption, I'm not judging you for that. Like, more power to you. But then you start your own story. You know what I mean? About that advocacy. Like, don't come over here and make it about adoption or about shaming me because I'm not adopting. And this, you know, this person was like, there's a lot of black children who don't have, and you should, and says who? So who, what? How did you even find my page? Like, who put you in charge of Instagram fertility pages? So, yeah. And I don't think people realize, like, just like when I went to donor eggs, I remember my first doctor, my first RE, not my first doctor. Dr. Gillespie was my first doctor. But I don't feel like the doctor, my first RE, recognized that there is a loss when you tell somebody about donor eggs, right? Because that's not how we imagined having our children. Nobody grows up and thinks they're going to have donor egg children or donor conceived children. So I don't feel like she fully acknowledged that loss when making that recommendation. And in the same way, when people flippantly recommend adoption, I don't think they're acknowledging the loss of, you can be a parent that way, but it's not the way you imagined you were going to become a parent, if that makes sense. It's not the way you imagined it. And so that's a sensitive conversation. It's not something that you just kind of like jump in somebody's Instagram feed and just rant, because she was on a rant, this girl. Right? It's a sensitive conversation. And I think, you know, all of us have to learn how to talk to each other. I don't know if it's like post-Trump or Trumpism or whatever else, but people are jumping down other people's throats. Like, you need to do it this way, you need to do it that way. And I saw a post on Instagram from my sister-in-law, former sister-in-law, however you want to say it. I like that. That came out nice. This is cute. This I just got, and it tastes good. It tastes like cotton candy. Let me see what this is. Lifter Gloss. Maybelline Lifter Gloss. So it's also a plumper. Obviously, I don't need extra plumping, but why not, sis? Who this? Who this? Okay, I'm gonna put the mirror away. Let me talk to you guys now, because I'm done. I think we have to be compassionate with each other, especially if we're trying to convince somebody to do something different than what they're doing. And my sister-in-law had posted a thing about a man who went to church and he forgot to turn off his ringer on his phone. And everybody in church turned around and glared at him. His wife, you know, scolded him. The preacher scolded him. They went out to Sunday brunch afterwards, and parishioners were like tisking him, and he was so ashamed and embarrassed he never, you know, went back to church. The man went to, well, before he never went back to church. So he leaves, or he drops his wife off or whatever. I'm making extra parts of it because it was just a single post. But, all right, it was 3 pages. Anyway, he ends up at a bar. He spills a drink, you know, he's feeling bad. The waitress comes over, apologizes to him. He's apologizing, and she's like, no, it's don't apologize. I'm so sorry. You know, maybe I gave you the glass. It was too wet, or blah, blah, blah. And the bartender was super nice, and you get where it's going, right? So then he goes back to the bar. He doesn't go back to church. And so if you're trying to welcome someone into your way of thinking, shaming them is not the way, right? We all have hopefully we all have critical thinking skills. And if you give people the logic and the reason, trust that they have the good sense to come to the proper conclusion for themselves. They know more about themselves, usually, than you know about them. So just give them the facts and the information, and then let them take it from there. I don't want my platform to be about shaming people or demanding that people do something else. I just think we're here to share our stories. It's a community, it's communal. We can share bits of information, but the point where and there was some heated discussion earlier this year when I was like, I wasn't doing testing, PGS testing, and people were trying to shame me about that. For what? What difference does it make to you? Right? If I have the information and I'm making the best decision for myself based on that information, how does that impact you? Keep it moving. Keep it moving. So I think we just have to trust, even if you're like, oh, you shouldn't do this. Like the whole thing with the vaccine, like everybody has to make their own decision. There's no right or wrong answer. You have to make a decision that makes sense for you, that you can live with. So in that sense, I have to make decisions that make sense for me. Adoption doesn't make sense for me. Going out of the country doesn't make sense for me. Switching doctors doesn't make sense for me at this point in time. There was a point in time where donor eggs didn't make sense for me. They make sense for me now, right? I had to get there. So I say all that to say, hopefully that cleared up the questions about the biopsy and about the follow-up. I'm probably not going to have a transfer this year based on numbers, dates, timing. So yeah. So it's not the end of the world. I'm not, you know, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. That means all of December, all my money is mine. It's not going to go to any fertility treatments. I can spend more money on my mom when I get to California. December is a 3 paycheck month. So yeah, it'll all work out. I just did my benefits today. I put away $2,750, which was the max that I could put in like the, what do you call it, FSA? Ours is not an HSA, flexible spending account, FSA. So that will cover my transfer in January. Yeah, we'll take it from there. We'll take it from there. We're on a journey. I'm on a journey. I feel like it's getting close to the end. So I don't feel as anxious. So you guys relax. It's going to be okay. My baby is waiting. Your baby is waiting. Let's just exhale and love each other and respect each other. I respect you. I'm just asking the same in return. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.